comfort and style, like keeps up with anything without costing everything. Now, take an extra 15% off Flex at Kohl's.
Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen, Gillis. Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans.
We can talk about sports. And Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
To me, you are nothing.
Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Start it up, let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, getting ready to take you through the prime time topics in sports, not just in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. Want to wish everybody a happy Monday, happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there today. Hope everyone has got a chance to see some of Dr. King's speeches at some point throughout the day today, as it is a very special day. Parades all around the city. I believe they had a parade here in the city on Elm Street this morning. Definitely was super cold, so I hope everybody out there is staying warm as we're going through a bit of a cold front here. Not just Central Texas, but really everywhere, as we saw some of these games yesterday. Some snow games. Some of the games ended in snow. Some of them started with some snow. So we got to see a little bit of a cold front from everywhere this weekend. So once again, hope everybody out there is staying warm. I want to thank everybody for watching and listening with us today on Centex Magic 94.5. Also on Infinity Sports Radio, Central Texas. And also, as always, watching with us over on Centex Sports Network on YouTube. Make sure you guys go over to there, hit that subscribe button when you can on YouTube. Also, click that bell so you can get notified whenever we go live here, 5 to 7 weekdays right here on Centex Sports Network. Well, folks, a lot to talk about today, We had a full sports weekend this past weekend. We've got the NCAA National Championship game is tonight at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Can't wait to be able to watch that one, Ohio State versus Notre Dame. We'll talk about that today. We'll talk about this crazy wild card or division round weekend that we saw in the NFL this last weekend. Depending on who you're a fan of, it was a great weekend of football, or it might have been a pretty rough weekend of football. If you're a Texans fan like myself, could have been a little bit rough for you. Joining me in studio today, got the WISD Hall of Famer, former San Diego Charger, and former Texas Tech Raider as well, Mr. Wayne Walker in studio. Wayne, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on? Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Once again, happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there. We'll have PJ Gaither calling in with us in a little bit as well as we go through some of these topics. But we're going to get right to it today, folks. Like I said, plenty to talk about in the sports world today, as we had a very full weekend. National championship game is this weekend. Is tonight, the national championship game, Notre Dame versus Ohio State. We'll talk about that a little bit in hour number 2. But to start it off, I got to start with the game that was probably the most watched game of the weekend. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills. This is a game that, even though I am a Texans fan, this game hurt for me watching this one and seeing how it turned out with Lamar Jackson coming up short. I've said on this show many times, Lamar's my favorite player in the league to watch. So this one was a rough one to have to watch and see how this one turned out. But, man, what a really good game that this game was to end off the divisional round weekend in the NFL. Baltimore falls short 27-25 against the Buffalo Bills, as the battle of the two MVPs is what we were kind of teeing this one up to be. The battle of the two guys in the MVP front-running race. Josh Allen comes out victorious in this one. Josh Allen, 16 for 22, 127 yards. James Cook, 17 carries, 67 yards. Khalil Shakir, 67 yards receiving for them. Josh Allen also had 2 rushing touchdowns to go along with that. On the Ravens side, Lamar Jackson, 18 for 25, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Derrick Henry only got 16 carries, 84 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely was their top receiver, 73 yards and a touchdown. Lamar Jackson also chipped in with 39 rushing yards on 6 carries as well. This was a game that was really back and forth, especially to start this game. Lamar and the Ravens went right down the field, scored immediately. The Bills were able to come back and score right away. Lamar throws an interception. Defense comes up with a stop. Lamar ends up fumbling the ball on a bad snap that went way over his head. Tried to pick it up and make a play out of that. Ended up fumbling the ball. The Bills able to go down, capitalize on that, get some points out of that. They go up in the locker room up 21-10. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens come back in the second half, and they outscore the Bills 9-0 in the third quarter, and then they both score 6 points in the fourth quarter. This game came all the way down to the last drive. Lamar Jackson goes 88 yards, last drive of the game, scores a touchdown, finds a man wide open in the end zone for a 2-point conversion. Mark Andrews drops the ball after fumbling on the possession before that when they were in the red zone and in position to be able to go down and score. Mark Andrews also drops the potential game-tying 2-point conversion, which really hurt. The Bills go out there, run the clock out, win this game. Lot to talk about in this game and just looking at both sides of this with the Bills and Ravens. But, Wayne, what was your first thoughts on seeing this game and how it ended up playing out?
Well, it was a really good game. And for the Ravens, you're just not going to be able to win a game when you turn the ball over 3 times. And I think that was the difference of the ball game. And yet and still, they had an opportunity to tie the score up.
Yep.
But if you look at it, Buffalo kind of controlled the ball. They were able to run the ball on Baltimore defense that has been playing great of late. But at the same time, yesterday Buffalo kind of controlled the ball. They were able to run the ball on the Ravens, and the Raven had costly mistakes. Later, playoff football is a different type of football, and the team that makes the less mistakes are the teams that usually wins. And that's what happened here with Buffalo and the Ravens. So, everybody want to say, was it Lamar's fault? But Lamar played well.
Yeah.
He fumbled the ball, but he gave it his best effort. And he still almost had a chance to come back and tie this ball game up. He threw it to his most reliable receiver, which is Mark Andrews. And Mark Andrews, which is a great receiver, and sometimes you just drop those balls, you make mistakes. And unfortunately, that's what happened. But you have to give Lamar some credit as well.
Yeah.
He was playing without his 2 top threats. No receivers, basically tight ends, that he was playing with. One of the mistakes that I do believe they made was they stopped giving the ball to Derrick Henry. He only had 14 yards in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You got to give it to your beast. You got to let him run the ball. You got to do the same thing that Buffalo was able to do, and that's control the clock. When you had a double threat and you have Lamar and you have Derrick Henry, I mean, it's a lot of things that you can do, and I know they wish they could go back and do things over, and I'm sure they would hand Derrick Henry the ball.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely. I don't get why that's the reoccurring theme for the Ravens in the playoffs. It seems like they always leave a little bit on the table over the last at least 3 seasons when it comes to running that ball in the playoffs. They're always one of the top rushing teams in the league going in every single year. But I'm like you. I can't put too much of this blame on Lamar. I've seen people have multiple different takes on this and saying, well, this guy's got to do this, this guy's got to do this. Just like I'm not going to completely put all of the blame on Mark Andrews for dropping that play because he did make big plays in that game. I definitely can't put all the blame on Lamar Jackson like I've seen some people do over the last 24 hours. Yeah, he had a turnover. He threw a pick, and it was a bad pick. He fumbled the ball, but that was a terrible snap that he was just trying to make something out of. That play never happens if the ball is snapped correctly.
And man, it's a team sport. It's a team sport. So you win as a team and you lose as a team. Everybody probably can go back over the film and look back over the film and see something that they could have done better. That's the one thing about pro football, but that's the one thing about the playoffs. You don't get to go next week and take care of those mistakes that you made. You don't. It's win or go home. So now Buffalo is out the tournament. I mean, the Ravens are out the tournament. And I just don't know. I'm thinking kind of, when you get those opportunities, because you don't know what's going to happen next year.
Yeah.
So you have to take advantage of those opportunities once you get there. And I definitely feel like the Ravens had a better team, but just didn't do enough things to win.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to those pivotal plays and those last moments. And Lamar had those 2 turnovers, like I said, but I don't think that all turnovers are equal. I think a turnover on the first play of the game is not the same as having a turnover on the last play of the game. Lamar had his turnovers, but he had both of those in the first half. Second half, he comes out and plays an almost perfect game in that second half. Goes down 88 yards, knowing you need a touchdown in a 2-point conversion, and puts his team right in position to be able to get that with only a couple minutes left in the game. I think Lamar's got to get credit for that, like you said earlier. Derrick Henry's got to get the ball more. I don't understand. We can't lose the game with Derrick Henry only getting 16 carries. That's not how I'm willing to lose a game, especially not in a low weather, almost snow type of game, physical game like that. Because it's not like Josh Allen went out there and did a lot. No. Josh Allen did minimal amount, but he did just enough for his team to be able to go out there and win.
I think he only had 15 completions himself.
Yeah.
But they were able to control the ball, and they were able to do it in a variety of ways, even Josh Allen using his legs, Cooks, and the other running backs. They did it by committee. So it was totally a team game for them and a team win. And he spread it around among all the receivers as well, the tight ends, Shakir. I mean, everybody kind of played a part in it offensively for Buffalo, and that's the thing that they didn't do with the Ravens. You have to spread the ball around. You have to minimize your mistakes.
Yeah.
It's all about 3 phases of the football games, and the Baltimore's defense didn't do its job because they were able to control the ball, and they played their worst game at the wrong time.
Yeah,
because you don't get to go back and correct this one. Now you don't get to go back and look at film and say, I'm gonna correct this and we're gonna go out and play next week. Now you go on vacation. You know, you get ready for OTAs now. So that's the next time they'll see the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep, so Baltimore falls short in this one, 27-25. We talked about who to blame in this game or who not to blame in this game. Like Wayne just alluded to, this is a team game. Can't put all the blame on one guy, whether that's Lamar, whether that's Mark Andrews, whether the defense should get credit too. They came out in that second half and played great, even though they gave up 21 points in that first half. Come out in the second half and they played great too. So I think, like you said, it's just tough whenever you don't play your best game at this time of the year. Looking at the Ravens and Lamar and how their season has ended the last really 3 or 4 years since Lamar has taken over as a starting quarterback, is their championship window closing for the Baltimore Ravens, in your opinion? Looking at Derrick Henry, who's getting older. You're looking at some of the guys on the defensive side of the ball, like Marlon Humphreys and Roquan Smith, who are getting a little bit older. Their best pass rusher was Kyle Van Noy this year, who was like around 34, 35, so he might be about done with his run here in the league. Do you think their championship window is starting to close in Baltimore, or do they still got time to come out here and correct this?
No, as long as you have a signal caller of Lamar's caliber, you always have a chance. I mean, it's all about, you can find everything else.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you can't find is a quarterback. You have to already have that, or you have to develop one. And as long as they have Lamar and Derek, they'll be just fine. They'll get better. They were without their top 2 wideouts this weekend, so that kind of played a part. He wasn't able to throw, but like you say, you're in inclement weather. It's snowing on the ground, and Derrick Henry should have got the ball. But as far as them, the window closing, the opportunity, no, you have an opportunity, and it should make them hungrier. You know, things like this do make you hungry because you have to think about it for the rest of the off season. You know, you only as good as your last game is what they tell you. So these guys should come back hungry, and they had that championship pedigree. And they have a championship caliber team, so they'll come back hungry, and that we'll be talking about them here again next year, I'm sure.
I feel the same way. As long as you've got Lamar at quarterback, I feel like your championship window is open. Same with the Bills. I feel like a lot of people thought their window closed. They had a really good run, and then they lose to Stephon Diggs and to Gabe Davis and multiple other guys on the defensive side of the ball. And now look at the Bills right back in the AFC Championship game because as long as you got 17 at quarterback, your championship window is open. I feel the same way for Baltimore and the Ravens. As long as they've got Lamar Jackson, their championship window is open. And just because he hasn't won it, we put so much pressure on these guys so early, and we forget that how many years in the league was Peyton Manning one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback, before they won in, 2009 when they finally got one. John Elway didn't win one to the end of his career when they got Terrell Davis towards when he was in his 35, 36, somewhere like that. Steve Young was winning MVPs and was one of the best quarterbacks in the league for the 49ers before they finally got over the hump and was able to win one. So we try to shrink these guys down and say that, they only get a couple years to go in and win this. You got to give some of these guys time to be able to come out here and make mistakes in the playoffs, get better from that, and be able to go out. So I think Baltimore's championship window is still open, and I think the Ravens will still have another chance to be able to come back out here and correct some of these mistakes. I don't think they should move off of John Harbaugh. I've seen people saying, maybe it's time to get rid of John Harbaugh. Like, no, I think he's still the coach of the Ravens. He's got his team in the playoffs every single year. You don't move off of that because the grass is not going to be greener. You go out there and pick somebody else.
And he's won a Super Bowl.
So, exactly.
He has what it takes. There's no moving on from that. I mean, you have 32 teams competing for one spot for one championship. You know, you were in the final 6. So, I mean, you have a good ball team. You have a good coach. You just have to do some things to make sure what happened yesterday doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and I believe that they'll still have another chance to be able to go out and do that. Lamar's like 28, I think. It's not like he's at the back end of his career or something like that.
Exactly.
Especially with the way quarterbacks are playing now and are able to extend their career. We could see another 10 years out of Lamar playing like this. So he'll have his time to be able to do that. Looking at the Bills before we move on, seeing what Josh Allen has been able to do this year with the lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball, at least, the defense has played good at times. The playmakers are starting to make plays on the defense like Von Miller, who I feel like they've been saving almost all year for these moments like this, and we see them go out there and have a good game this past weekend. Looking at the Bills, do they have enough on this team this year to be able to go out and win a Super Bowl?
Well, yes, they do. They do. They really do. They have a complete team. They play all 3 phases of the ball game. Like, their defense is not just super great, but they're good.
Yeah.
Their offense is just not super great, but they're good. And they take care of their business. They execute. They go out and execute what they need to execute. They go out and get first downs.
Yeah.
The defense is able to get stops. The defense is able to get turnovers. They're not missing field goals. When you get to the playoffs, you have to have a complete team. It's about all 3 phases of the game. And then you have to have a coach on the sideline that makes great decisions. So everything comes into play. So, yeah, Buffalo has a chance. And they get to go into Arrowhead this week. And they've won there before.
Yeah.
It's been a very close game there before, too. So, man, they had a pedigree. They have what it takes. If they continue to play team ball and trust each other and play for each other, man, they have opportunity. Everybody has opportunity. As long as it's a ball game, you have opportunity.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think Buffalo, despite what they've been able to have on offense or what they don't or don't have on defense, they make the right plays. They're very, very well coached. I think Sean McDermott is a guy that gets looked over a lot as far as being a good coach. You see how he's turned the Buffalo Bills around from day one when he stepped in as a head coach up there in Buffalo. So I think they have a chance to be able to do it. And the only team, and we'll talk about the Kansas City and Buffalo matchup a little bit later in the show, the only team that's beaten Kansas City this year is the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. Nobody has beat Kansas City this year in the year 2024, a whole calendar year, from January all the way through December. Yeah. Only one team beat this team, and that is the Buffalo Bills. So I do think they have enough to be able to go out there and get it done.
No doubt. They went 10-0 at home.
Yeah.
They were 10-0 at home, but now they have to travel. They have to go to Missouri, Kansas City, and play the Chiefs. So, I mean, like you said, we'll talk about that later, but, man, that's going to be a heck of a ball game, man.
Great game, and I'm really expecting to see a good one next Sunday whenever that game happens. So, final score, 27-25. Bills move on to the AFC Championship game. Want to go over to the other game in the AFC, that the team we just talked about, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans. Kansas City comes out here, wins this game 23-14 in a game led by Patrick Mahomes, not having to do too much. We just talked about Josh Allen not having to do too much. Patrick Mahomes not having to do too much, not turning the ball over, making the right plays at the right time. Really, the play that just epitomizes Patrick Mahomes to me was the play. I think it was 3rd and 9 maybe. They're on the goal line. The Texans got a chance to get a stop and stop Kansas City from scoring, hold them to a field goal, and then Houston will get a chance to go back down the field and try to either take the lead or tie the game up. And you see Patrick Mahomes scrambling out of the pocket, falling down, body almost horizontal with the ground, finds a wide-open Travis Kelce in the end zone. Right. And when they showed the replay, you saw him picking the right spot because it looked like he was wide open. But when they showed it from the quarterback perspective, you saw that the linebacker had to choose either going to his left or to his right. And Patrick Mahomes pretty much made the decision for him, threw Travis Kelce wide open, scores a touchdown. And that play right there just epitomizes why Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion. Because even when he doesn't have 300 yards, 400 yards, he makes the absolute right play every single time for the Kansas City Chiefs. And that's all he did in this game. Houston's defense played phenomenal, in my opinion. They did a great job of containing Patrick Mahomes. They didn't let him get outside of the pocket too much. He tried to scramble. He had 7 carries for 14 yards. Only had 177 yards passing in this game. Travis Kelce, who seems to always turn it on in the playoffs, 7 catches, 117 yards, and that touchdown that I just talked about, the only passing touchdown that Lamar threw the whole game. On the Houston side, C.J. Stroud, he did all he could do, in my opinion, in this game. 19 for 28, 245 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Did a great job of not turning the ball over. But the reoccurring theme, he got sacked 8 times in this game. It's hard to win a game whenever you're sacked 8 times in a game, and we'll talk about the penalties and some of the referee stuff in just a second. But just taking that aside and just looking at the game, it's hard to win any game when you get sacked 8 times. Your quarterback's getting hit 8 times in a game. Joe Mixon did a good job, 18 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown in this game. Nico Collins made big plays whenever they needed to. Dalton Schultz made big plays in this game when they needed to. They came in super undermanned, and guys really stepped up and made plays in this game. Just wasn't enough to be able to beat the champs, and they just showed you why they're the champs. It reminds me of when Golden State was winning all their championships a few years ago when they had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and all those guys. They're just going to make those right plays each and every time in that fourth quarter that you're like, man, we were right there. We had a chance. But the champs showed you why they are the champs, and that's exactly how this Kansas City game went, in my opinion. Wayne, what was your thoughts on this Houston versus Kansas City game?
Well, Houston had his opportunities, but like I said, you have to take care of your business. They didn't turn the ball over, but it was the missed field goal, the mixed extra point, the 8 sacks. Mm-hmm. So you have to go out and you have to take care of your business. You have to execute, and they weren't able to execute. And Kansas City, although it wasn't nothing special, they just found a way to win. It was too much Travis Kelce. too much Patrick Mahomes. And they made plays when they had to make plays. When Houston put pressure on them and was coming back, then that's when the defense stepped up and they started blitzing and they started rushing and they started doing different things to kind of confuse C.J. Stroud. But they made the plays when it counted. And that's what the game came down to. Like I always say, if your special teams is not up to par, you make that field goal, it's a different story. If you make that extra point, it's a different story. So you have to make the plays when they're there for you. And if you don't, like I said, you'll be looking forward to OTAs. So that's what Houston is looking forward to right now.
Yeah, just the right plays at the right time. That's all it was. Kansas City seemed to make those right plays every time they needed it, and Houston was unable to. The field goal kicking was an issue. It was an issue when we missed an extra point. It was an issue whenever he missed a 45-yard field goal. So, I mean, not being able to execute on those things, not being able to block the quarterback, seems like Steve Spagnuolo knows just the right time to blitz. That's why I say he's the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. The blitz packages that he draws up is crazy. I mean, some guys will be dropping. Guys will come from the edge. I think Justin Reed got in on a couple of those sacks. He's a safety. And just seeing them being able to go out there and make multiple plays whenever they needed to make those plays. And on the other side of that, like I said, you can't. It's already hard enough to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They don't need any extra help. The officiating in this game, we've talked about it all year with the Kansas City getting these calls here and there and getting these calls. And sometimes I agreed, sometimes I didn't agree. That Bengals one that everybody talked about at the beginning of the year, that was a pass interference. And should they have called it? That's to your discretion. Do you want to let the game come up to that? But it's not like that wasn't a pass interference.
Right.
Seeing this game and critical moments on both third down plays, third and longs, when Kansas City is about to get off the field, including their only passing touchdown drive, that drive that they had where they threw the passing touchdown, one of the plays that helped them stay on the field to be able to do that was the fact that another roughing the passer call. We've all seen the replays where Patrick Mahomes is not getting hit. Matter of fact, two Texans guys ran into each other as Patrick Mahomes decided to slide late. That's what we talked about earlier with the Trevor Lawrence injury and all these other injuries. These quarterbacks sliding late. Mahomes decides to slide late. He gave himself up as a runner. He's running around. He's trying to make a play. He's in the middle of the field running, trying to find a lane he can go to. Slides at the last second. Two Houston players get a collision. Clearly they showed the replay. Mahomes doesn't even get touched. It's roughing the passer. That's a first down. Keeps the drive going. They end up going out there and scoring a touchdown. We've seen the one with Will Anderson. Does not hit Mahomes in the face whatsoever. Roughing the passer call. They call him getting hit up there. I'm not the guy that likes to make excuses. So if you lose the game, you lose the game. You knew what it was going to be coming into the game, just like DeMeco Ryan said. I don't think he was using the referees as an excuse. He was just saying, hey, we knew these guys are going to get certain calls coming into the game. So you can't give them extra ammunition by missing field goals, by not converting third downs, because it's going to be hard enough to win. As soon as I seen Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark up there in that box, I was already nervous. I said, oh, man, the league ain't letting these dudes lose no matter what. With both of them up there, I mean, they got more camera time than the coach. I seen DeMeco Ryans maybe once in the game, maybe twice. Caitlin Clark and Taylor Swift, they high-fiving, they got handshakes, they doing all types of stuff throughout the whole game. But, like I said, I'm not the guy to make excuses, but those are not penalties, and I'm not a fan of those calls. Though I don't think those are penalties, but that did not determine the outcome of this game, so I'm not going to make that as an excuse. What do you think about some of the officiating calls in this game?
Well, I think some of the officiating was unfair.
Yeah.
I really do. The league has addressed that when the quarterback gets out of the pocket and he's dancing and trying to, bait the defense and trying to get extra yards, he should be able to be hit. I mean, you think about it. Patrick Mahomes is not a small guy.
No.
When you talking about Josh Allen is not a small guy. So when you let up and you thinking that this guy's gonna run out of bounds and then he turn back up and run, get back on the field and try to run you over. Mm-hmm. This is a big guy. Josh Allen is running over linebackers. Yeah. So the league needs to address that. I think it was unfair. Some of the penalties were unfair. I don't think it's the reason that they lost, but I do think that the officiating was unfair towards the Texans. But like I said, the league needs to address all of that situation. Although, some of the penalties were legit.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, the guy that on the punt return, the guy that pushed his coach.
Yeah.
You know, that's unnecessary.
Yeah, that was.
That's a penalty that you don't need. You throw your helmet off, and on the field, clearly on the field, that's an undisciplined problem. So that had nothing to do with Kansas City. But the penalties they call for Mahomes, it's just like they used to do with New England and Tom Brady.
Exactly.
You go back to those days. The officiating was unbiased towards it because that was their main man in the league. Patrick Mahomes is gonna get those calls. You better believe it. Just like Tom Brady got them
every time.
You know, the best quarterback in the league, ambassador of the league. So that guy's gonna get them calls. So you have to stay away from him. You have to be smart. And as far as I know, I think the Texans went into this game knowing that they would get certain calls.
They did.
So you have to be smart as players. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, but Patrick Mahomes is going to get those calls.
Yeah, he's going to get those calls. Those are already penciled in as far as him getting those calls. What you can't do is you can't have multiple holding calls. You can't have multiple false starts. You can't throw your helmet when you're 20 yards from being off the field. Can't throw your helmet. Obviously, everyone's going to see that. And, those are the plays you can't do. Mahomes, those calls are penciled in already. He's going to get those calls, just like the Brady got the calls. I mean, we watched it when the last time that Kansas City lost in the AFC Championship game outside when they lost to Joe Burrow was against when Tom Brady was in New England. It was about 3 or 4 calls at the end of that game that got him, including the interception that Tom Brady threw that would have ended the game, but they called it offsides. That wasn't offsides. They called it roughing the passer on Chris Jones when he didn't even touch Tom Brady above his chest almost. So, when you're the top guy, like you said, you're going to get those calls.
Yeah, you're the ambassador of the league. You're going to get those calls. They're going to protect their product. That's a $1 billion industry. They're going to protect those quarterbacks because those quarterbacks are what people pay to come and see. And Patrick Mahomes is the best in the business, so they're going to protect him. So you may as well stay away from them. Although I think they need to address some things in the offseason as far as the quarterbacks and them running and them sliding and the hits above the shoulders. You know, I can understand those, but we have replay for a reason. And if you can go back and you can look at replay after you call it on the field and see that these guys really didn't touch him, you know, you should just retract those penalties and you should go on about your business because both of those penalties were on third downs, which could have played a part in all of those things because at this point you're punting instead of getting the first down and continuing the drive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I'm agreeing with you. They got to do something about that. And there's a whole compilation of videos from just this weekend of quarterbacks getting hit that the calls didn't get made. I seen even on that pick six that and we'll talk about this game after break. The pick six that Jared Goff threw in that Washington game. On the pick six part, Jared Goff is looking the other way almost completely and comes and gets hit right up underneath the chin by somebody. That should have been a penalty that did not get called. Jaden Daniels got hit late out of bounds on one of the plays. I think either Jalen Hurts or Lamar, somebody got hit late out of bounds on one of the plays. Neither one of those got called. So they've definitely got to figure out a better way of officiating these quarterbacks and a fair way to officiate the quarterbacks. You don't have to make it that obvious that Patrick Mahomes is going to get all the calls. At least call a couple for some of these other guys that are playing quarterback as well. But like you said, I don't think that determined the outcome of the game. What determined the outcome of the game is we couldn't stop Mahomes on third down. They made the right play every single time. Couldn't stop him in the red zone on a few different possessions. So that's the reason why the Kansas City Chiefs came out victorious in that game. We got to get into a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the NFC side. Eagles versus Rams. Lions with the biggest upset probably of the year. And Jaden Daniels and the Commanders coming out and getting the win over the number 1 seed in the entire playoffs. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned and stay locked in here on Centex Primetime. We'll be right back after this break.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network,
That's right, sports fans.
We can talk about sports.
and Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Hey guys, it's Rocky and Keisha, and at Prosperity Tax Service, we're all about convenience. We get it. Life is busy. Your time is valuable. That's why we've streamlined the entire process to be as hassle-free as possible.
No more sifting through piles of paperwork or spending hours at an office. With Prosperity Tax Service, you can handle your taxes from the comfort of your own home.
Your financial data is in safe hands with us through our secure and user-friendly customer portal at prosperitytax.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things tax-related. Log in anytime from anywhere, whether it's from your couch or on the go.
We are experienced tax professionals, well-versed in handling a variety of tax situations. Receive genuine assistance and competitive pricing from real tax professionals who've seen it all.
We're marking 2 decades as a community-based enterprise here in Waco, Texas. So call us at 254-235-5662 or log on to www.prosperitytax.com. Thanks, guys.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's a sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie. 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
Are you hungry for the best fried chicken in town? Check out Crispy Chicken #1, 11th and Clay, and their Monday and Tuesday special, the Snack Pack, which includes 2 pieces of chicken, fries, roll, and drink, all for only $6. Also, each Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, you can feed the family for $10 and receive 6 pieces of chicken, fries, and rolls. Crispy Chicken #1 features additional daily specials and also includes mouth-watering short ribs, fried catfish, and chicken fried steak. Locally owned and operated and a Waco tradition since 1975. That's Crispy Chicken #1 at 11th and Clay.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. This is live from the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports Studios.
That's right, sports fans.
About to show these boys how we do it.
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis, your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime. Jalen Gillis still here, joined in the studio by Wayne Walker. We go through an awesome sports weekend that we had this past weekend. NFL divisional round. Just got done talking about in the first part of the hour. On the AFC side, Josh Allen moving on to the AFC Championship. Also, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs moving on to the AFC Championship. You guys will get to see Taylor Swift one more time in the box up there in Arrowhead before they get a chance to play in the Super Bowl, or potentially the Bills play in the Super Bowl as well. Want to jump over to the NFC side as we just got done talking about the AFC, and I want to start with the upset of the year, probably already. It's a short year. We've only had a few days in 2025, but this is most definitely the biggest upset so far. The Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. Detroit coming in as the big bad wolf, number one offense in the league, historic offense in the league really all year long. We know the deficiencies they've had on the defensive side of the ball. We know the injuries they've had on the defensive side of the ball. And it even started worse. I mean, Amik Robinson, who the round before that had played like their best corner on the team, comes out beginning of the game and breaks his arm. I mean, the injuries just from start of the year to the end of the year just never stopped for the Detroit Lions. And it finally caught up to them. I didn't think it was going to be in this game. I thought they were going to have enough to come out there and beat the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels, even though Jaden Daniels has been playing great all year. And we'll talk about him in just a second. But on the Detroit side, we just talked about in the Kansas City game and in the Buffalo game, you can't turn the ball over in the playoffs. And that's exactly what killed the Detroit Lions. The offense was still humming. Washington's defense still didn't look like, just world beaters. I mean, they gave up 500 yards. Detroit rushed for 200 yards and threw for 300-plus yards in this game. The only difference was the turnovers. You have multiple turnovers in this game. Jared Goff throws 3 picks in this game. He had a fumble in this game as well. They tried to do some of their trickeration plays with Jameson Williams. He throws an interception. That's 5 turnovers by Detroit's offense. I don't care how good your offense is. I don't care if you got Brady and Moss or Montana and Rice. You turn the ball over 5 times in a playoff game, you're going to lose the game. And then the other team doesn't turn the ball over at all, you're going to lose the game. It's just that simple. I don't care who you are out there, and that's exactly what happened in this game. The Lions on offense, everybody had a good game. Jared Goff had 300 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 137 yards in the game. We saw Sam Laporta with a crazy one-handed catch in the end zone. None of those things matter whenever you turn the ball over as much as Detroit did. They turned the ball over 5 times. On the Commander side, Jaden Daniels, 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Didn't get sacked 1 time in the game. 122 QB rating in this game. Brian Robinson tripped in with 2 touchdowns and 77 yards. Jaden Daniels also rushed for 51 yards. Diami Brown, who we had talked about last week, has been a playmaker along with Terry McLaurin. He had 98 yards. Terry McLaurin had that screen that he took to the house for 58 yards in this game. Multiple guys stepped up for the Washington Commanders, but nobody stepped up more than number 5 for the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels is quite possibly, I'm trying to think, he might be the best rookie I've ever seen play since I've been watching NFL football. And I've seen some really, really good rookies. Andrew Luck had a phenomenal rookie season, in my opinion, even going to the playoffs in his rookie year. I've seen multiple guys come out and be effective. Saquon was a really good rookie. Ezekiel Elliott was a really good rookie. Dak Prescott was a really good rookie. Jaden Daniels might be the best rookie I've ever seen play football in the National Football League, at least for what I've seen so far. He goes out here, leads his team to a win. You put up 45 points on the number 1 seed in the NFC at home. They're in Detroit. All their fans are there. All their fans are screaming. You're playing in a rough environment in Detroit. You're playing against a high-powered offense that we're going to have to go out here and score points. Jaden Daniels matches them point for point, goes out there, plays phenomenal. Commanders scored 28 points in the second quarter alone. 28 points is enough to win most of the playoff games we saw this whole weekend. Yeah. They scored 28 points in just the second quarter. Phenomenal game from Jaden Daniels. Phenomenal game from Dan Quinn and that defense. Wayne, what was your opinion watching this Commanders and Detroit game?
Man, like you said, man, they went on the road. They went to Detroit. a hostile environment.
Yeah.
You know, with this rookie quarterback, man, but he was so cool under pressure, man, so poised. These guys went for it 5 times on 4th down and got it 4 times. They control the ball game. And once a team gets up on you and they continue to score, and you playing against the number 1 scoring offense in the league, you can't come back from that. You know, the real issue was the turnovers. The turnovers from Detroit. Detroit was in the game, but for 5 turnovers, you can't come back from that. Especially when you throw a pick 6. You giving them points. And out of those 5 turnovers, they scored on 3 of them. So essentially, you gave them 17 points, 2 touchdowns, and a field goal off your turnovers.
Yeah.
You can't win that way. When you, like I said, when you get to the playoffs, everything speeds up. It's more pressure on you to do everything, and you can't make the little bitty mistakes. And they made too many mistakes, too many errors to be able to win. Even though you're the number 1 seed and you're at home, you're playing really good football teams this time of year, and they weren't able to make it up, and they weren't able to come back. Prior to this, they had thrown 5 turnovers in a game against Houston early in the season.
Yeah.
And they were able to win that game. They came back and they won on a last-second pass or a field goal or something like that. But when you get to this point and you get to the second season of the NFL, which is the playoffs, you can't make those errors because you're playing really, really good teams. And that's what happened to Detroit. They weren't able to win. They couldn't come back from that.
Yeah, I think the turnovers is we talked about in the Buffalo game who's the most to blame in that one. I think the turnovers is the same in this one. You can't turn the ball over like you said. When this is the playoffs, the turnovers count pretty much double in the playoffs, and you threw 5 of them, and they scored on 3 or 4 of those 5 turnovers that you gave up. When you're doing that and playing against a team with ultimate confidence, Dan Quinn matched the confidence that Jaden Daniels had, and that's what makes this duo so dynamic between the relationship between Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury, and Jaden Daniels. They all have the same confidence coming into this game. Jaden Daniels looks the same whether they're down 3-20 or if they're up 20-3. He looks the exact same, extremely poised. Dan Quinn said, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to match Dan Campbell. I know he's going to go for it on every 4th down, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for it on every 4th down. I know the only way the Detroit's defense gets success is by turning the ball over. So we're going to come out and turn the ball over. On this team, the only way you can cut this team off is by controlling the ball. That's exactly what Washington was able to do in this. And Jaden Daniels is as poised as they come. Dan Quinn has proven that he is one of the best coaches in the league as well.
And the fans from Dallas ought to be kicking themselves.
Oh, man.
Jerry Jones, you had a guy in-house and Dan Quinn. Defense travels.
Yeah.
You can – defense travels because you're talking about turning the ball over or getting turnovers and able to stop people. And if nobody scores, nobody wins. But they had their guy. They had their guy in Dallas. He was able to do in 1 year what they weren't able. and to be honest, ever since he left Dallas, it's been a problem.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he had him relevant. He was a top 5 defense, and that's what he's doing in Washington. I mean, he's leading a young team that no one expected to be there this year, thinking they 1 or 2 years off, and here they are playing in the NFC Championship. I mean, the NFC Championship game against another NFC East rival, which the same division that Dallas is in.
Man.
So it doesn't look good for Dallas going forward as far as having Philadelphia Eagles, who are playing this week, and the Washington Redskins playing this week. And with Washington being a very, very young team that has $56 million in its salary cap to go out and get more players. And people want to play for Dan Quinn. That's a fun team. People want to go and play with Jaden Daniels because they're winning. And then you already have your quarterback. So I expect some great things out of Washington moving forward, but they got a big game this weekend. So their season is not over. So, this Philadelphia game with them in Philadelphia, Man, I think it's going to be a toss-up. If he can continue to play the way he's playing, because he's playing like a 10-year veteran. He's not playing like he's a guy that's just came into the league.
Not at all.
And this is his first year as a quarterback. But like you said, he's probably the most impressive rookie since maybe Andrew Luck. Odell Beckham was another All-Pro that came in as a rookie, and Randy Moss was another. I mean, you put him right up there with these guys. So, man, just a great quarterback, man. And that's the reason they won, because he was cool under pressure, and they just kept their necks on Detroit, and they just kept scoring and scoring. So they're now weren't able to come back from all of those turnovers. So that's the story of that game.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to not bring Dallas into this, not to just beat up on the Cowboys fans. But you look over, and Philadelphia is back in Philadelphia. This is almost their third or fourth rebuild in the time period since Dallas last has been in the Super Bowl. The Commanders have been an ultimate rebuild for the last 30 years, to the point that they had to fire. Their ownership was so bad, they had to force their owner, pretty much firing their owner. And you almost don't see that in any sport. They made Dan Snyder have to sell this team. And they get a new ownership group. They get a new coach. They've got a rookie quarterback. They've got all brand new players, one of the youngest teams in the league, and they break the drought from last time they were in the NFC Championship game was 93, and now the longest conference championship drought goes back to the Dallas Cowboys, who haven't been to a conference championship since 1995. And they're right in your division, and the two best teams, because they're both in the NFC Championship, are in your division, and both teams that have rebuilt multiple times because they didn't mind saying, hey, we got to tear this down and rebuild. And unlike Dallas, who refuses to tear it down and just would rather go 8-8 for 20 years. And now you're looking at the opposite of that, two teams that have done that, and now they've both surpassed you multiple times. Philadelphia and now the Commanders, who have always been the little brother to the Dallas Cowboys. However you want to look at Philly and Dallas, they're always going to be right there at the top of the NFC East for the last 30 or 40 years. The Commanders have always been that little brother. The Giants have gotten multiple Super Bowl championships in this window, and now you've let the Commanders even pass you when they're the smallest market in that division. I mean, it's tough to not look at the Cowboys.
It really. I mean, you had the guy that was
and then they're doing it with your coach.
In your building that led your offense, was a top 5 offense for over 5 years. You let him get away when you let McCarthy go this year, when you should have hired him last year. And the thing about it is they're doing it with about 5 or 6 of the Dallas Cowboys players.
Yep.
And I just don't understand. We talked about this earlier this year, that Dan Quinn probably should have been the coach, even before the season started.
Way before.
Because defense travels. If you have a good defense, you have a chance. You have an opportunity because they're able to stop teams and get turnovers and make it easier for your offense. So if anything, you can get field goals out of them. Well, Dallas didn't have a good defense this year. And the reason they didn't have a good defense this year is because Dan Quinn left, and he took 5 or 6 players with him, and those guys are over there performing for the Washington Commanders this year.
Yeah, I mean, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, Noah Brown on the offensive side of the ball. All of these guys came from this Dallas system. When you got a guy they led the league in turnovers. You know how hard that is to do? They did it for 3 years. They led the league in turnovers on the defensive side of the ball.
And they got 5 this weekend.
Yeah. And then come out and get 5 with there's not a long list of all pros on this Washington Commanders defense. Bobby Wagner is at the end of his career. Outside of that, you can look maybe Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen in there, but there are no max contract guys on this defensive side of the ball, similar to Dallas. They had Micah Parsons, who was a max guy, Trayvon Diggs, who was a max guy. Everybody else was kind of just fill-in pieces guys, and they went out there and led the league in defensive turnovers for 3 years. He leaves, comes and gets 5 turnovers on the road against the number 1 seed, and this is the guy that was in your building, and now he's in your division. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to not go over to the Cowboys. I know the Cowboys are already in Cancun. They've been out of this. Their season's been over for a couple of weeks. But that cannot be encouraging when you've got head coaching mishaps going on. You let Mike McCarthy walk, which is at this point for what? We'll talk about this in just a second. Ben Johnson, who's somebody y'all probably thought you could get, he's gone. He's gone to Chicago. Now your only chance, you're trying to get Deion. I don't think Deion's going to come and be a part of what the Cowboys have going on. So now you're scrambling while the other two guys in your division are the last two teams left in the NFC. Man, I don't know. I don't know. That's tough if you are a Cowboys fan, which I always say. I know we have plenty of Cowboys fans, if not almost all Cowboys fans, that listen with us on here. But it's going to be a long offseason going into the offseason whenever you look at the Commanders and the Eagles, because neither one of these guys' championship windows, regardless who loses, is closed. It's wide open. The Eagles, we talked about it last week. They got everybody under contract. Saquon's under contract another 2-3 years. Jalen Hurts under contract another 2-3 years. Their whole offensive line is good. A.J. Brown got paid. Devontae Smith. Their defense is almost all rookies. So they're all on rookie contracts.
And the thing about Washington, they got a quarterback under his first-year contract.
First year.
Under a rookie contract. So they have plenty of cap space to go out and build this team and get better. And like I said, the future for them is very bright because he is on that rookie contract. They got $56 million they can go out and spend. Like, man, that's a lot of money you can go out and spend on free agents to plug and play when you just made it to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the future is bright for Washington, man. And Dallas is going to be at the bottom of the division for maybe the next 3 to 4 years because of Philadelphia, what they were able to do, and what Washington has been able to do in 1 year.
Yeah.
Which is only going to get better.
If you're a Cowboys fan, you got to pray at this point that the Giants don't get Shador or Cam Ward some kind of way in this, and then bring another good young quarterback into this division when you're already surrounded by young talent and good teams.
And I know, like, a lot of people give me grief about, well, man, I hear you on the radio talking about my Cowboys all the time, but that's because everybody brings it to me. You know, you talk about the Cowboys. I don't want to hear about the Cowboys. So if you want me to talk about the Cowboys and you don't like what I say about the Cowboys, well, hey, they need to get it straight.
Yeah, you need to change owners because your owner wants everybody to talk about them every week. We just saw 2 or 3 headlines come out last week. It's only Monday. I'm sure they got some more headlines coming out this week of what they're going to do just this week. So they're the most talked about franchise for a reason. And we'll talk about them whether it's good or bad. They went 12-5 for 3 or 4 seasons in a row. We had to talk about them when they were good. You got to talk about them on the other side of that as well, too. So it's a lot of questions, like I say, seems like every week, that's got to get answered up there in Frisco going into this offseason. And right now, we're starting with a head coach. They need they already lost out on 2. Dan Quinn is gone. Mike McCarthy's gone. At this point, I mean, maybe Kellen Moore.
I mean, even Cliff Kingsbury, Aaron Glenn. But
I'm hoping it's Aaron Glenn. That's what I hope that they
But I don't know what decisions they make right now. I mean, it's a lot of stories coming out of Dallas that they even want Jason Witten to be the coach in waiting.
Yeah, I've seen.
And that's the same thing they did with, man.
Jason Witten just coached high school football. Let's not get carried away and think that this dude is going to come in and lead an NFL locker room to go out there and win. When you're going to start out with probably the most competitive division in the NFC. You're going to be right there with the NFC North as far as a competitive division going into next year. So lots of questions that got to be answered. We got to get into a break to touch the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll talk about this Philadelphia game as they come out with the victory over the Los Angeles Rams. We'll do a couple of quick takes, and then we got to talk about National Championship Monday, which is today. Ohio State taking on Notre Dame, 2 of the most storied programs in college football, duking it out for all the marbles in about an hour, as a matter of fact. So we got to talk about that, too. We'll be right back after this short break. You're watching and listening to Centex Primetime. Stay locked in. We'll be right back.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports fans.
We can talk about sports.
And Infinity Sports.
Lighthouse Streaming, a full-scale media agency and your go-to source for all things audio and video. Is your church long overdue for audio and video upgrades? Call Lighthouse Streaming for a free consultation. Does your corporate or church event need audio or video production? Don't stress. Call the guys at Lighthouse Streaming. In business since 2017, Lighthouse Streaming has produced hundreds of live events and completed dozens of church and venue installations. Whatever your AV needs are, Lighthouse Streaming has you covered. Give them a call at 254-252-4206. That's 254-252-4206. Or go to lighthousestreaming.com and set up your free consultation.
Hey guys, it's Rocky and Keisha, and at Prosperity Tax Service, we're all about convenience. We get it. Life is busy. Your time is valuable. That's why we've streamlined the entire process to be as hassle-free as possible.
No more sifting through piles of paperwork or spending hours at an office. With Prosperity Tax Service, you can handle your taxes from the comfort of your own home.
Your financial data is in safe hands with us through our secure and user-friendly customer portal at prosperitytax.com. It's your one-stop shop for all things tax-related. Log in anytime from anywhere, whether it's from your couch or on the go.
We are experienced tax professionals well-versed in handling a variety of tax situations. Receive genuine assistance and competitive pricing from real tax professionals who've seen it all.
We're marking 2 decades as a community-based enterprise here in Waco, Texas. So call us at 254-235-5662 or log on to www.prosperitytax.com. Thanks, guys.
NSJ Event Co., one of the premier event designers in Central Texas and a Centex Sports Network supporter. Voted Waco Awards Event Planner of the Year 2021, NSJ Event Co. is your go-to source for event planning. Whether it's your next baby shower, birthday bash, wedding, or retirement party, NSJ Event Co. will bring out the elegance, class, and style your event deserves. Call NSJ Event Co. at the number on the screen or scan the QR code to schedule a free consultation. NSJ Event Co., where the party lady takes care of all your event needs.
It's the family feels for me. The banana pudding peach cobbler make you want to holler for me. It's the candy yams, mac and cheese, beef tips, pork tips and rice, collard greens. It's the sweet potato pie, sweetie. Fried chicken you've been missing, the lemon sweet tea dressing on Sundays when you all dressed up. Chest pie, buttermilk, and pound cake. Cornbread with butter just dripping, always fresh baked. If you need Southern style, soul food, home cooked meals that you can feel. Chicken and dumplings, chicken pot pie, 719 South 11th Street. Sassy's, come on by.
Are you looking for something new and unforgettable in Waco? Come to the Blazing Asian, where authentic Cambodian flavors meet creative culinary flair. Voted People's Choice as Waco's #1 Asian restaurant since 2019 by both the Wacoan Magazine and the Waco Tribune Herald. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin, we're serving up family recipes with a twist. Blazing Asian egg rolls are rolled fresh daily, and their sauces or marinades are made in-house with love. Stop by today. Located inside the popular Union Hall on 8th and Franklin. And for Baylor students, enjoy 10% off with your student ID.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. KWBT-FM, HD2 Waco, Temple, Killeen, Fort Cavazos. The new leader in sports in Central Texas is Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
It's time to get in the game.
Do you know what time it is?
Tune in to Primetime Sports Talk with Jalen Gillis.
To me, you are nothing.
Your go-to source for breaking sports news in Central Texas and exclusive Dallas Cowboys coverage.
Start it up, let's go.
Catch us Monday through Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. on the Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into Centex Primetime, hour number 2 here on the show today. Happy Monday to everybody. Happy Martin Luther King Day to everybody out there. Like I said earlier, in hour number 1, there's parades all over America. We had a parade down here in Waco as well. Hope everybody stayed warm that got a chance to go out to any of those parades today, because it is freezing. Seems like everywhere across America. We saw all the different snow games last week or this weekend in all the sports. National championship game is tonight. They're going to be in a dome, thankfully, because I think it's snowing in Atlanta as well. So they're getting snow just a little bit everywhere right now. Want to thank everybody listening in and watching with us today. If you're listening on Centex Magic 94.5 also on Affinity Sports Radio, Central Texas. Want to thank you guys. As always, if you want to watch this content and not just have to listen, you can go over to YouTube, Centex Sports Network / Centex Sports TV over on YouTube. You can watch this content 5 to 7 p.m. weekdays right here on Centex Sports Network. Still joined in the studio by Wayne Walker as we just wrapped up talking about all these divisional round games. We'll talk about the Philly game in just a second for those Philly fans on here with us. We're not going to leave y'all out. We'll talk about the Philly game in a second. Want to do a couple of quick takes before we get started back into the groove talking about those games. We'll talk about the national championship game coming on in less than an hour now. National championship game, Ohio State and Notre Dame. We'll talk about the AFC championship and the NFC championship games as well. Joining me, also calling in with us, we've got PJ Gaither coming in on the line as well. PJ, what's going on?
Man, doing pretty good. Just looking forward to the national championship game tonight.
For sure. National championship game getting ready to come on shortly. Want to do a couple of quick takes with you guys before we get started. Has everybody seen the news? Some people have seen the news. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, has already got a head coaching job, and he will be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. He leaves Detroit, high-powered offense, one of the most high-powered offenses really over the last couple of years. I was actually shocked that he didn't get a head coaching job last year as a chance because of how potent this Detroit offense was. Now going forward, he's going to stay in that division. Number 1 pick in the draft, Caleb Williams at quarterback. Multiple receivers, multiple receiving weapons out there. They've got a couple of good backs. Had a top 10 defense this last year as well. Just weren't able to put it together. I think lost their last 12 or 13 games, kind of like just doing what the Chicago Bears honestly always do for the last 30, 40, 50 years at this point. But Chicago goes out there and gets an offensive guru, I guess you could say, in a Ben Johnson, taking him from Detroit. Wayne, I'll let you go first. What's your first thoughts on Ben Johnson heading over to Chicago?
Well, he was able to pick and choose where he wanted to go, and he went and he chose a place with a loaded team, with a lot of young talent, with all the pieces around that to be successful. They already have a top 10 defense. They have a lot of money in the salary cap money to go out and get some guys. I think they need to fix their offensive line. But what he has with the skill positions, I mean, it's already in-house. So he chose a place where he could go and be successful. And he's had for the last 5 years, he had a top 5 offense.
Yeah.
So, man, that's one of the premier jobs, I think, in the league. And any coach that had a choice to choose a place, I think Chicago is the place to choose.
Yeah, Chicago was going to be one of the top options. You got one of the more talented young quarterbacks in the entire National Football League. You got a lot of weapons on that offensive side of the ball. You got a top 10 defense. That's not a bad place to start whenever you're trying to get your first start as a head coach. PJ, what was your thoughts on Ben Johnson getting the job in Chicago?
Well, I think it's pretty good for both parties. For him, he's able to be a head coach now and lead a team in the way that he wants to lead them. And then for Chicago, they finally got a coach that I think that can possibly help this offense reach their full potential and really help Caleb Williams be a proper NFL quarterback. He still has certain things that he needs to kind of iron out, certain bad habits that he wasn't able to fix before he was able to come into the league or really during his rookie year of the season, So I think it's a good choice. I still think they need some old linemen. That was one thing that I did notice as far as, and I think everybody did with this offense, was that, with a rookie quarterback, you got to have a really good seasoned O-line. And if not seasoned O-line, you just need some guys that's going to be able to protect them a little bit longer so that he can kind of, have more confidence in himself. So I think it's a really good choice. I'm not sure it's too early to say how they'll be next year, but I think that in the long run, this will be beneficial for both.
Yeah, I like Ben Johnson going over there to Chicago. Offensive guru. I mean, play calling wise, it's not too many guys getting more creative than Ben Johnson play calling wise. Even in the game they just lost against against Washington. I seen a play. They had like a double pitch where they throw the reverse back to the running back, and he has a pitch up to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, we seen these dudes throwing bubble screens to linemen. Like, this guy has a Madden type of playbook is what we've seen out of Ben Johnson. So I'm excited to see what he can do over there in Chicago and going over there with that new young quarterback. Speaking of head coaches and getting jobs, or whether getting extensions, I guess we could say, Steve Sarkisian just signed a 7-year extension with the Texas Longhorns to remain the coach of the Texas Longhorns. Now, guys have had multiple things to say, different opinions on what to say about Steve Sarkisian, his play calling in the last couple of weeks of this season, or how it's kind of hindered the team at times. Say what you want. The Texas Longhorns have trended up ever since they got Steve Sarkisian. They were a mediocre football program for almost about 10 years. After the Colt McCoy era was over with Mack Brown ended up getting flushed out of there. Charlie Strong comes in for a couple seasons, never wins more than 6 games. Tom Herman comes in, has one 10-win season. After that, just about 7 wins every year. Steve Sarkisian, his first year, gets 5 wins. Next year, 8 wins. The next year, they get 12 wins and they lose in the semifinals. This year, they get 13 wins and they lose in the semifinals. They've been trending upwards. He gets rewarded. There were talks about him going to the NFL. He gets a 7-year extension to stay with the Texas Longhorns. PJ, I know you're a Longhorns fan, so I'll let you go first. What was your thoughts on Coach Sark getting an extension?
I'm happy about that, man. That's what we were supposed to do. Whenever you got a coach like Steve Sarkisian who's really helped us come back to relevancy, this is how you show your loyalty towards him. You know what I mean? The contract goes to 2031. He's the reason why a lot of these young kids in the state of Texas, not even really just in the state of Texas now, I feel like across the country want to come to Texas and play. You know, definitely you see it with the recruiting. Like, we just got Jamie French from out of Florida. You know, we're able to kind of go over to California. We had some. I think some of our recruiting coaches were in California this past weekend looking at some of the guys from like Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, some of those schools out there, some of the powerhouse schools, you know. So it is really all, you know, all the credit has to go to this guy. And I mean, other guys as well, you know, in these last few years, but all the credit for sure goes to Steve Sarkisian. So I'm happy to see that we were able to do that and really just lock in. And I really just want to call out all of the media that be really putting all these false narratives out and be saying, oh, well, looks like he was looking at some NFL teams. He didn't even speak to any NFL teams.
He not trying to leave. Austin got long money, man.
They got long
money.
Any money that an NFL team can try to throw at him, I guarantee that the Texas Longhorns can throw the same amount or more. So this guy, he's here for the long haul. He's trying to build this school up, kind of like a Nick Saban in Alabama. That's what he's trying to do. So I'm happy to see that he's here, and he's going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. He definitely deserves that, and he comes from that Alabama coaching tree. He watched Nick Saban be able to do it. He knows what he's doing out there, man. Just because they weren't able to get the job done at the very end, only one team wins every year. It's not, I mean, when the era of Nick Saban winning, you know, 6 out of 10 championships, I think we're past that era with NIL. I don't think NIL is going to allow a team to be that dominant anymore, at least not in the way that it's presently constructed. And Steve Sarkisian done a great job. Wayne, what was your thoughts on Sark getting this extension?
Man, I'm like PJ. It's well-deserved. They've been trending up in the last few years, and the recruiting has been great the last few years. He's been able to do something that the previous 4 coaches couldn't do, and that's bring in a top 5 recruiting class every year. And, man, and Texas is one of those places now that kids look at, and it's in that top 3. And like I said, man, it's well-deserved. Things even in the transfer portal, they getting top guys. So Texas will be relevant for the next few years. You know, 10 years, 7 years, $10 million. So $70 million is good for him. But I mean, when you have a coach of that caliber, you have to keep him. You got to keep him here, and you have to pay him whatever he needs. I think they still paying some coaches, so they, like you said, they got long money, and it won't be a problem. But now it gives him some sort of security, and now he can plant his feet in Austin, and he can go out and he can go get those guys, and they'll be around in the top 4 every year for the next 7 years of his contract.
Yeah, Steve Sarkisian definitely deserving of that. Like I said, been trending upwards every year since he's took over that program, and like Wayne just alluded to, top recruiting class every single year. Texas is one of those states similar to Miami in its heyday, similar to USC in its heyday. If you can just get their top recruits in Texas, you're already going to have a top 5 recruiting class, and you're probably going to be a top 5, 10 team in the nation just recruiting Texas alone. Right. He got Quinn Ewers to come back to the state of Texas. He was able to get big time recruits whenever guys like Bijan Robertson was coming out of Arizona. He was able to keep guys like that. Keeping those top talented guys in Texas is huge, and Coach Sark has been able to do that. So he gets rewarded in a 7-year contract. And like you said, Wayne, they're still paying some of those old guys.
They're still paying 2 coaches.
Yeah, they're going to be happy to be paying somebody that's actually coaching their team in Austin, because Tom Herman's still on that contract getting paid. I think they might have just got done if they're not still paying Charlie Strong.
Yeah.
Charlie Strong.
I mean, they got long money, like you said, Austin, man. I mean, if you're not winning there, they're going to get rid of you. And they're going to pay your contract off, and they're going to bring another coach in that's going to make about $10 million more than you are.
Yeah. So
that's been the story in Austin. But I mean, look like they found their coach. Look like they found their guy for the long haul, and like I said, he's been doing a good job going into kids' homes and recruiting him and getting them to come to Texas, go to Texas and play.
Yep. So Sark staying there all the way through 2031 is till his contract goes. Looking at a little bit at the NFL, looking at the All-Pro team to come out, the first and second team All-Pro. Wanted to get you guys' opinion on this. Was there anybody that you feel like was left off of one of these teams? Or did the All-Pro team, which I usually feel like gets it right. I think the Pro Bowl kind of varies on, sometimes it's just popularity, who they put in the Pro Bowl and stuff like that. But the first and second team All-Pro teams usually tend to get it right. Some notable names on the first team, Lamar was able to get that nod as first team All-Pro at quarterback over Josh Allen, over Joe Burrow, over Mahomes and guys like that. Saquon, I think we all knew we're going to get first team at running back. The rookie, Brock Bowers, out of Georgia, at Las Vegas, gets the nod at first team, and that's who I had on my list of when me and Kyrell last week, I think, did our first and second team All-Pro teams. That's what I had as my tight end first team All-Pro.
And he should have been.
Yeah.
He should have been.
Over 100 catches, I think broke the rookie record for catches.
Over 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Man.
Jamar Chase gets on the list. Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown round out the receivers out there for the first team. Patrick Surtain and Derek Stingley as the corners, I think that was another one that was a good that they were able to get right out there at corner. I think Derek Stingley had a really great season this year, all the way even through the divisional round game against Kansas City. I mean, he played great in that game as well. Was there any names that you thought maybe got left off, or do you think that they kind of got it right with the All-Pro team this year?
I think they got it right, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is when they come together collectively. I mean, you talk about All-Pro, and then sometimes you have players that have a choice and gets to pick those teams. So I think they got it right.
Yeah,
they pretty much got that right, man. It's all those guys are deserving. There's some guys that are deserving to be on there as well, but for the most part, I think they got it right.
Yeah.
When you picking first and second team, and you have to leave some good players off.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, they got it right.
Yeah, and then I think the toughest one is to pick is that quarterback position, especially with the way the guys were playing this year. Lamar gets first team. Josh Allen earned the All-Pro second team. Joe Burrow leads the league in yards and touchdowns and doesn't make an All-Pro team. I think probably one of the first times, or at least the first time in a while, that we've seen anything like that, a guy lead the league in yards and touchdowns.
You got to look at what Lamar did.
Yeah.
I mean, and Burrow's had a great year, man, passing the ball. But this guy's able to do it, throwing it, running it, or whatever. And all of just magical tricks, I mean, and all of the magical things he does on the field, man, he deserves to be first team All-Pro, if not even MVP for this year.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at him to be MVP of the whole league.
Yeah, same. I think that comes out in a couple of weeks who they'll pick for the MVP. PJ, anybody you feel like got left off of the first or second team in the All-Pros, or you think they got it right for the most part?
Nah, I agree. I think they got it right. It'll be kind of hard to try to take anybody off this list and add somebody else. You know, everybody that's on this list pretty much had a really good year, and so I don't think they got it wrong. I mean, you can make some arguments, but at the end of the day, some of the people that's still on here, you can make a good argument for them too. So it really, doesn't really matter. But I think they did pretty good. You're going to have people that's going to complain about. So I know Joe Burrow that's going to be a big one that people are going to talk about a lot. But at the end of the day, like you said, you got to look at what Lamar Jackson did. You got to look at how Josh Allen played this year, and he's still in the playoffs. As we speak. So, I think they got this right pretty much.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with the All-Pro teams this year, like they do every year. I think most of the time the AP All-Pro is going to be majority of the right decisions. Like I said, Pro Bowl can be questionable at times, but sometimes that's just popularity, and that's not really made for – and so many guys get left out or leave off the team because of playoffs or just for other reasons, injuries, and other guys get thrown into that Pro Bowl spot. But AP All-Pro usually gets it right. Want to switch over to college football, as like I said, it is National Championship Monday. The game is getting ready to come on. The schedule for 6:30, but they'll probably kick off around 6:45. So close to kickoff time here now. Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Like I said all the way from the beginning of this, these weren't the two teams that I picked to be in the national championship game. I'll just say that to start off. Matter of fact, Wayne, you said it last week. I think we picked Notre Dame to lose just about every single round in these playoffs, and now here they are finding themselves in this. Before we start talking about the matchups, I want to ask this. Has Marcus Freeman somehow made Notre Dame likable? Because now I find myself almost rooting for Notre Dame in this game to be able to go out there and win with a black head coach, and I've hated Notre Dame my whole life. I don't like their basketball team. I don't like their football team. I don't like their lacrosse team. I don't think I've ever rooted for Notre Dame in any sport at any time. But I find myself coming into this game almost rooting for Notre Dame. I'll pick Ohio State to win this one, and we'll talk about the matchup. But as far as who I'm just rooting for, man, a black head coach in a national championship game in college, we've seen it a couple times in the NFL now, but college, the black head coaches are very few and far between, especially when you're talking about top programs. And a black head coach getting a chance to go out there and win in Atlanta on Martin Luther King Day, man, I kind of find myself rooting for them. Has he somehow made Notre Dame a likable school now?
Man, we talked about this last week, and I told you, man, I'm rooting for this guy, man. I mean, he gives you something to cheer for,
Yeah.
His passion for the game, the way he treats his players, the way he comes off as a head coach, and the way that he represents the African-American coaches.
Yeah.
Man, how can you root against this guy?
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying last week, man. I almost found myself rooting for Notre Dame, and I'm like you. I've never rooted for Notre Dame. I've never liked it. I thought they were an entitled school with lots of money. And they're the only independent school in America that gets to play in the national championship game. So, no, I'm kind of cheering for him. I'm cheering for him, and I'm wishing him all. I mean, good luck. I think he's a great guy, and he's good for their program. And I'm glad that they have a black coach that represents us. That's coaching at Notre Dame, and I wish him well tonight. I don't think he's going to win tonight, but, man, just to get to this point.
Yeah.
And like I said, hopefully our prediction comes true tonight, because every round we said Notre Dame was going to lose. They were going to lose. They were going to lose. So I'm gonna keep it that way, and maybe Notre Dame will come out on top and win this thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very likable guy in Marcus Freeman. We're even starting to see his name come up in head coaching circles. I'm sure Jerry Jones at some point is going to throw his name out there in the coaching mix just to mix things up a little bit. But we're starting to see him come up in NFL coaching ranks, and He's at Notre Dame, and I would like nothing more than to see if Notre Dame finally does win again. I don't think they've won since, the 80s or something like that. If they finally do win again, it'll be with a black head coach after Brian Kelly said, I want to go somewhere where I'll have a chance to be able to compete for a national championship, so I'm leaving Notre Dame. And here comes this black dude that comes in and is going to have Notre Dame right in the national championship game. PJ, what do you think about Marcus Freeman and what he's been able to do at Notre Dame?
Yeah, he most definitely got them being likable now. And I think they have consistently just been one of the most hated schools, honestly, in all of college football.
Yeah.
Really, both these schools, really, Ohio State and Notre Dame. But something about Notre Dame, just nobody ever really liked them unless you went there. Or, like, you got, I guess, parents that probably went there, so you just grew up as a Notre Dame fan, you know. But I'm rooting for them right now, too. And it's not really just because Texas lost against Ohio State. It's just more of I really like their head coach, man. I really like Marcus Freeman. He a former player.
Yeah. At Ohio State.
I like how he carried himself too. He a very respectable dude. Just watching him during the press conference and everything, you can just tell he's very locked in. Definitely last week whenever they played Penn State, I kind of noticed that, like, the coach for Penn State, you know, he was trying to play around with him during the press conference, and Marcus Freeman really wasn't going for it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could tell he's a very serious guy, but he's somebody who, you know, he's a leader. And you could tell the way this team plays, man, they kind of got a grit and just very physical, about them whenever you watch them play. And I really think it starts from their head coach, the reason why they play like that. So, I'm rooting for them tonight. I really don't know who will win this game. I really think that Notre Dame is going to come out and play better than what some people think. Hopefully they watch the Texas game and kind of see how we played as far as defensively. I think we played probably a perfect game, probably better than any team besides Michigan maybe that played against this Ohio State team this year. So if they can kind of take some things from that and try to apply it to this game tonight, I feel like they got some of the guys on the defensive side to be able to do it. But it's just really all about going out there and actually doing it rather than just, practicing against scout team and watching all that tape. You got to really get out there and do that once you play against these guys, because they're going to have their hands full with this Ohio State team. And they got so many guys on offense. Any one of those guys can go off, from the receiving core all the way to the running back core, So
yeah.
They're going to have a hard time, but I'm rooting for them to win tonight for sure.
That game, like we said, coming on in just a minute, so I want to talk about this national championship game, Ohio State and Notre Dame fighting Irish. Like we just talked about with the Notre Dame side, underdogs in a lot of their games. We picked them to lose up here on the show multiple weeks in a row, and I hate to do it back-to-back again, but, man, I think Ohio State, it's just too many guys. I mean, it's just that simple, like PJ just alluded to. Texas Longhorns played them great, but Notre Dame don't have Jahdae Barron on defense. Notre Dame doesn't have Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill on his defense. We're talking about Texas Longhorns having one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the nation. Mm-hmm. And they weren't able to stop this Ohio State team. Notre Dame, their one thing that they can bring to this game is their physicality. They've been extremely physical in every single game that they've played going forward. If they have any chance in this game, Riley Leonard's got to play his best game that he's played in his entire career this game. Because really, when I pick against Notre Dame, it doesn't have much to do with the other guys. It's got something to do with the guy that touches the ball every play for him, and Riley Leonard, who has played good at times. But if Penn State doesn't make some of those bonehead mistakes, they're not even in this game because Riley Leonard threw 2 or 3 picks again that game against Penn State. Now you're playing against a D-line that we see is just all monsters, all first-round picks or future first-round picks on this defensive line for Ohio State. DBs, you're talking about Caleb Downs, who's probably been the best DB in the nation since he was a freshman, since he was 18 in Alabama. Made game-winning plays in that game against Texas. That's who's going to be playing free safety against you now. So you throw anything up there crazy with Caleb Downs that they're playing, it's over with. Denzel Burke at corner. They've got good guys at every level. And then on the offensive side, Jeremiah Smith, Texas did a phenomenal job of bracketing him, shading guys to his side throughout that game. Notre Dame don't have those guys out there that can run with Jeremiah Smith. Carnell Tate, who I talked about all year long, who shined in that Texas game. He was a number one receiver coming out of his class. I don't know how guys somehow forgot about him, but they got reminded in that Texas game. It's too much to guard. Travion Henderson, Quinshon Junkins. I mean, too much Ohio State. I got Ohio State winning this game. It's about to kick off in about 10, 15 minutes. Wayne, what you think about this matchup, Ohio State and Notre Dame?
Man, I'm gonna echo those sentiments that you just said, man. It's just too much Ohio State, man. You got potentially about 10 first rounders on this team. They paid for it, but they're there. And like I say, Notre Dame is led by their physical defense. They've been able to stop people all year, but I don't see how you stop Ohio State when they have so many weapons. Texas was is a good team that has a lot of offensive weapons as well. But Ohio State was able to stop them from running the ball, and they made them one-dimensional where they had to pass the ball, which Sark had a great game plan. He got it to his tight ends a couple of times, got it to his running backs, isolated them. But I don't think Notre Dame has those type of players that Texas has. And on offense, I think they have a running game is basically it. Riley Leonard is not a great passer. He can run the ball, but that's not going to work against Ohio State. So I'm totally going with Ohio State here. And like I said, I'm cheering for Notre Dame to do well because what Marcus Freeman represents as far as a black head coach, I love it a lot. But and I hope that my prediction this time and yours as well, picking against Notre Dame has Notre Dame winning, but I don't think so. If I'm going with what I see and the eye test and just knowing a little bit about football, Ohio State has too much.
Yeah, there's too much in my opinion for this Notre Dame team to overcome. The best player the Notre Dame has is Jeremiah Love, and we've seen what Ohio State has done to all these running backs from every school they played. They started out playing a really good running back in Dylan Sampson at Tennessee. Shut him down. They played Jordan James in Oregon. Shut him down. Trey Wisner and Jaden Blue weren't able to get going when they played Texas. Jeremiah Love, unfortunately, is probably going to see the same results. They're going to see a lot of stacked boxes. They're going to see a lot of 7-8-man boxes in this game. I like the Greenhouse kid, Jaden Greenhouse, at receiver for Notre Dame. But, I mean, outside of that, they don't have a lot of weapons on their offensive side of the ball, so it's just going to be tough to score points against this Ohio State defense. PJ, I'll come to you with this. What would a win for Ohio State mean for Coach Ryan Day? Because this is a guy that we've said multiple times has underachieved, in my opinion, I'll just say has underachieved ever since he took over for Urban Meyer at Ohio State. We're talking about an Ohio State team that's put out just as many first-rounders and guys that are stars in the league as Alabama. The difference is Alabama got about 4 or 5 championships to show for it since Ryan Day has been there. Ryan Day doesn't even have a championship game to show for it. This is his first time getting to the national championship game. What could a win for this change and mean for his legacy at Ohio State and just for him coaching in general?
Well, he'll finally have a monkey off his back. I think this is really all he needed. I mean, besides needing a win against, Michigan.
Yeah.
But this is something that he was supposed to have had. Consistently, they've had one of the best rosters in all of college football, I would say, for the last maybe four years, maybe 5 years. But they just could never really get it done. And, I mean, there was other teams in these last 4 to 5 years that was just as good as they were. But still, this Ohio State team has consistently been one of the best teams in college football. They just haven't really gotten it done. And so him getting this done tonight would be huge. I really think it'll be a huge job security for sure, maybe for the next maybe 7 years, just like Steve Sarkisian, to be honest. I think this would be really good for the culture of Ohio State. You already got a lot of guys that want to go there, but you get a win tonight that's really going to flip, the recruiting process as far as, other teams that you got to compete against, because you're going to have a ring now. So, these younger guys, and that's what these younger guys want to do. They want to be able to go to a school, and get on the field, and even if they don't get on the field, they just want to be on a team where they can almost be guaranteed a championship at some point while they're still in college, So I think this would be huge for Ohio State tonight. They haven't had one since, I think, Ezekiel Elliott, in 2014. So,
yeah.
This would be really good for them.
Yeah, I think it'll be huge for them. Wayne, what's your thoughts on that same question? Just what could this mean for Ryan Day? And this is a guy that me and you sat on the show and talked about his coaching for his job moving throughout here.
Right.
And now the international championship game with a chance to win.
Well, I mean, this guy, he'll be able to sleep. If he can win this, This guy probably hadn't been able to sleep ever since he lost to Michigan. I mean, you hadn't beat Michigan. So the only thing that you can do to correct that loss from Michigan is to win a national championship game. He's actually playing for his job.
Yeah.
I mean, getting there, I don't even think is going to be good enough for him. I think he has to win it. And if he doesn't win it, he could possibly be out at Ohio State. You're talking about traditionally one of the top 3 programs in America, able to go out and get any offense coordinator you want, any defense coordinator, and the players. They've been paying the players. So they're number one in paying players in the whole, in all the AFCC, so these guys, they have to win. They have to win this game. They have to win this game. They have to win for his job. And this guy be able to sleep if he can.
Yeah, I'm right with you guys, man. I think this will be huge. Marcus Freeman, I feel like win, lose, or draw in this game, he solidified himself already up there with Notre Dame coaches, with being a top coach in the NCAA, with just getting this team to a national championship game. Ryan Day, if they lose this game coming into this one 10-point favorites, all that good stuff we've been talking the last 2 or 3 weeks, it turns right back into what we were saying after the Michigan loss. If you come in here because you're favored, you're better than them at every position on this field. Let's just be honest. They're better than Notre Dame at every single position, maybe kicker. I don't know if Ohio State or Notre Dame's kicker is good or not. Every other position, Ohio State is better. We're talking about a guy that's had Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud. All these are first-round quarterbacks. It's hard to have one first-round quarterback in your coaching tenure as a college coach. He's had multiple first-round quarterbacks. At least 10 top first-round receivers have come out since Ryan Day has been there. On the defensive side of the ball, the offensive linemen, the running backs that have come out. He's had just as much talent but no championship to show for it. Ohio State, in my opinion, we just talked about Alabama and their dominance. Ohio State's the only team in college football, in my opinion, that has a chance to do what Nick Saban did with Alabama for a 5, 6, 7-year stretch because they've got the money that matches it, they've got the coaching lure that matches it, and they've got the program that can match all of it in this NIL era. They're the only team, in my opinion, maybe Texas, if Texas starts winning some more, that can compete and be a team like, hey, we can run off 3 or 4 national championships in a NIL era when all guys are leaving every 5 seconds and transferring. They can get the top guys at every position every single year. And so a win for Ryan Day, in my opinion, not only changes his status, but it changes Ohio State, and they become the new powerhouse in college football, in my opinion, if Ryan Day is able to come out here and get a win. So this game is getting ready to tip off. We're seeing them singing the national anthem right now. They're about to come out and win. I think we all picked Ohio State to be able to come out with the win in this game. So we'll see. I think we're all rooting for Notre Dame, though. It's just weird me saying that. Like I said, I ain't never rooted for Notre Dame, and I'm talking about golf. Any sport. I ain't rooting for Notre Dame in anything, but rooting for them today and Marcus Freeman to be able to come out there and get a win. But we all pick Ohio State. They're 8.5-point favorites in this game, and I think they're that many point favorites for a reason because this is the top roster in college football. So that game getting ready to kick off. We'll be able to talk about it more throughout this week as this game goes forward, and we'll see who'll be able to come out with the national championship in this one. Want to switch back over to NFL for this last few minutes we have here on the show and talk about this conference championship games. We just got done seeing a crazy division round. One of the number 1 seeds is already at home in the Detroit Lions. We've got a rookie quarterback in here playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. We've got another Mahomes and Josh Allen duel We've seen this is, I think, the third time they've met in the playoffs now. We're getting to see it. Now it's in the AFC Championship game. Andy Reid versus Sean McDermott as well in this game once again. Some really good games. Before we go into those, I want to talk about the last divisional game. We didn't get to talk about the Philly versus Los Angeles Rams game. This was a really interesting game. Philly was able to come out there and get a win in this one over the Rams. This is a game that, Wayne, we were talking before the show that I think if that snow doesn't come in, we might be having a little bit different of a talk up here on the show today about how the outcome of this game was. Philly was able to win 28-22. They come out there, they run the ball well. Saquon Barkley, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns. This guy's phenomenal. I really just hate that he had to spend the first 5 or 6 years of his career in New York because this dude is unbelievable as a running back. 205 yards in this game. Now I think he's got 500 yards through 2 games in the playoffs. Pretty much ridiculous. He already ran for 2,000 this year. They should have let him break the record, but they held him out from breaking that. Could have broke the record. Then Jalen Hurts matches that. He had a 44-yard run, but he had 70 yards rushing in this game on 7 carries. Dallas Goedert was their leading receiver. Still haven't been able to find that connection with A.J. Brown. We'll talk about that in a second. On the other side, Matthew Stafford, I think a quarterback that every year everybody should be scared of until this guy retires. I think Matthew Stafford is literally probably, outside of Mahomes, might be the scariest guy to play against in the playoffs because he's going to have his team in position to be able to win the game or be right there in the game every single year. He comes out in this one, throws for 324 yards, 2 touchdowns in the snow. No picks, no turnovers. Kyron Williams had 100 yards rushing in this one. Puka Nacua, who just somehow seems to be open all the time, 6 catches, 97 yards in this game. Cooper Kupp had a good game, 60 yards. Tyler Higbee had a touchdown in this one as well. Like I said, if it wasn't snowing, I think this could have been a different outcome. Philly is able to win this game off the back of Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is literally rushing these guys to the Super Bowl. Wayne, I'll start with you. What was your first thoughts on this Philadelphia win over Los Angeles Rams?
Well, like you said, man, I mean, inclement weather in Philly, snow on the ground, and Matthew Stafford, he's a gunslinger. I mean, he's a passer. And when you have to pass in that type of weather, the ball becomes hard, it becomes slick, it becomes heavy, and it's hard to grip the ball, it's hard to catch the ball. Any little thing can cause a fumble, and I think that works to Philadelphia's advantage yesterday.
For sure.
And their run game, they were dominant on offense as far as their offensive line. Saquon Barkley able to run for over 200 yards. But that's where they won. When you play in weather like that, the game is won in the trenches. And Philadelphia was able to run the ball. And then on defense, they were able, in some instances, to get pressure on them, especially in the fourth quarter when it really counted. Jalen Carter comes in a couple of times and makes a couple of big plays. But I think that's where the game was won. It was won in the trenches, and that's where you have to win it. When you're talking about playing in weather like they played in yesterday.
Yeah, it's definitely one in the trenches. They got Saquon Barkley on the offensive side behind the line, and then you just said his name, Jalen Carter, a guy that I've said since his rookie year, since I seen him play the first time in Philadelphia. This dude is a monster. He's got a chance to take that title as the best inside lineman that Aaron Donald had for all those years. Completely unblockable. And then he's got that timing type of gene that we've seen Aaron Donald or Von Miller or TJ Watt have, where he knows this is the time we need to play right now. They got down to 3rd and 4th down. He made those plays on 3rd and 4th down, those last 2 3rd and 4th down for Philadelphia out there. He had 2 sacks in that game. I love that kid. Shout out to Jared Verse, too, a guy that I talked about all year long for the Los Angeles Rams, a guy that I said should be Defensive Rookie of the Year. Halfway through the season, I said he should have been Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's played phenomenal, had 2 sacks in this game. He's a future star. I liked him even when he was at Florida State as well. PJ, what was your thoughts on this Philadelphia team coming out with a win over the Rams?
That was a really big win, man. Saquon he's looking unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's just really hard to have to face him, man, because he does so much. He can really take over a game. You know, he's one of the few running backs in the league right now that can actually take over a game and help his team win. I think it's huge for the Eagles because coming up next week, going against this Washington Commanders team is going to be a really good game. Both the games that those teams played this season, in the regular season, were two really good games.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to really see what it's going to look like. I'm not sure if it's going to be snowing. I'm sure it might still be because it's going to be at Philly, so it'll be pretty cold out there still. But, I mean, both these teams, they pretty much used to the cold. They pretty much close in the same area.
Right.
So, for the Eagles, man, this is a huge win. As much as I hate them, they're a really good team, man. They're a really good team. The defensive line is just crazy. They have one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. So I got them probably going all the way. I'm not sure who's going to win it, but I got them going all the way for sure.
Yeah, the Eagles, this was a huge win for them. Being able to get past Matthew Stafford, like I said, it's tough. And that snow definitely came in and played a part. I don't know if they'll be snowing. It's going to be the same temperature, though, next week whenever they play against the Commanders. It's going to be cold in Philly. Those Philly fans are going to be going crazy. Going to these to this championship game rounds now, and I'll stay with Philly and the Commanders. Do you guys think, in your opinion, is Jalen Hurts good enough to win? I think it's that simple. I think this Eagles team is stacked all the way around. I think the one weakness, if you could call it a weakness on this team, is Jalen Hurts. There's just times, even in this game, that I'm watching, I'm like, that play just doesn't look right. That play, he's not turning the ball over, and that's great. He had to cut the turnovers out. I think he was leading the league in turnovers for a season and a half. He had the most turnovers in the league. He cut the turnovers out, but there's certain points in this game where I'm like, there's the play. He's not getting it to the guys in time. Sometimes he is getting it to the guys in time. Sometimes he's holding on to the ball too long. I mean, it's just not pretty. Sometimes you don't need to win it pretty, and then you got 2-6 back there in the backfield. He's going to make up for a lot of those mistakes. But at some point, whether it's next week or if they win and move on to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to throw that football. They've been winning a lot of games with Jalen Hurts throwing for 100 yards, 120 yards. He threw for 128 in this game. Hasn't been able to get a connection with A.J. Brown going. He's got him reading books on the sideline. I don't even know what that's about. Dude pulled a book out in the middle of the game. Like, I don't know what's going on with that. He is not engaged with them. Wayne, I'll start with you. Is Jalen Hurts good enough for this team to not only win against the Commanders, but to win the Super Bowl?
Well, he's gonna have to be able to throw the ball. I mean, you can't be one-dimensional and win. But they have been one-dimensional, and they have been winning. I mean, so I'm kind of contradicting myself by saying that because they've been relying on the legs of Saquon Barkley to run for over 200 yards. And he's been able to run the ball a little bit. But if you have a smart defense coordinator, if you go up against Steve Spagnuolo and you one-dimensional, he would turn that against you. I mean, he would make you pay for that. So
Dan Quinn this weekend.
And Dan Quinn. I can see them blitzing him. I can see them coming off the edge. Because he hadn't proven himself. So he's going to have to prove himself. He's going to have to prove that he can pass the ball. Because now you're going to get guys that's going to stack the box. Even though you have a premier offensive line, if you run it against 8 players and you got 8 players in the box, or you have 7 players in the box, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys get paid just like you. They're professionals. So it's going to be hard to do that. So he's going to have to prove himself as a passer at some point.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be this weekend. But like we say, we don't know what the elements are going to be in Philadelphia. It could be snow on the ground. It could be cold, ice. So running is essential as well. But I think if you're as smart as Dan Quinn and you're a defense coordinator and your defense been ranked in the top 5 ever since you've been a defense coordinator, ever since you've been a coach, then you kind of can game plan to make him pass the ball instead of running the ball. Because I'm going to stack the box, and I'm going to make you beat me with your arms and not with Saquon running for 200 or 150 to 200 yards.
Yeah. Philly's a 5.5-point favorite in this game. Wayne, who you like in this one, Washington or Philly, to move on to the Super Bowl?
Well, at the same time, I'm gonna take Philadelphia. I'm gonna take Philadelphia because they're at home. I'm gonna take Philadelphia because they can run the ball. I'm going to take Philadelphia because their defense has been lights out the last few weeks, and they've been getting turnovers, and they got a interior defensive line that puts pressure on you. You don't have to blitz. But when you do blitz, it adds extra pressure. But they got guys that can rush up the middle. And when you got guys that can rush up the middle and you got guys on the end that can rush, then all you have to do is use lane integrity as far as rushing the passer. And you keep him in there, but this guy Jaden Daniels, man, he's so cool and so poised under pressure that man, it's I could see Washington scoring and doing some things, but I think I'm giving my nod to Philadelphia because they're at home and they're able to run the ball, and like I've been saying all year, the game is won in the trenches, and man, they got both of them. They got defensive interior linemen that are great, and then they got an offensive line that's great.
Yeah, I'm going with Philly for all the same reasons you just said. They're at home. The elements are going to play in their favor. And I hate to pick against Jaden Daniels because he is just playing phenomenal, like you said, playing like the most poised quarterback in the league. He looks like a 5, 6, 7-year vet out there. But on the same token, this is by far the best defense they would have played in the playoffs. They played against Tampa Bay. Not a good defense. They're opportunistic, but they're not a great defense. They come out there against Detroit. I mean, we know what Detroit's defense has been all year long, and they lost even more pieces in that game on the defensive side of the ball. This is by far the best defense they're playing, so I like Philly, and I even like him at that 5.5-point mark as well. PJ, who you liking this one, Washington or Philly, NFC Championship?
I'm going to go ahead and go with Philly. I think they got more of the experience. They've been in these situations before. So I think that'll play a huge part in this game against Washington. Washington just hasn't really been in this position ever. And definitely with a young quarterback with Jaden Daniels, which I think that they're going to, with him being their leader for these next few years, their quarterback, they could possibly be back in this situation multiple times. He's very talented, probably one of the most talented quarterbacks already in the league. And he's just a rookie, just in the way that he can just rally his team, So, yeah, I think Philly got this one, man. I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Now it's going to be a close game, though.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be very close. It can go either way, but I think that they just have a little bit more. The only thing is with them is, like you said, is the quarterback play for Philly. Is he going to be able to pass the ball? You just never really know. But I think that'll be enough. I think they got enough on their team to be able to win this game. But yeah, I would take you said it's 5?
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I like 5.5. Like you said, I think it's going to be a close game between these two. I think Philly will pull off at the end just because of their defense. Really, I mean, it has nothing to do with the quarterback. I'm sorry, Sid. I know I don't want to get on your quarterback too much, bro. But I mean, Jalen Hurts he's going to have to elevate his game if they're going to be able to win. And I picked this Philly team to be able to get to the Super Bowl, so I expect them to be able to close the deal out and get to the Super Bowl. Now, depending on who they play, I don't know who I'm picking yet, and that all depends on this next game. We only got a couple minutes left in the show. But Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC Championship game, the duel, the Mahomes and Josh Allen duel, this has been fireworks every time we've seen them play. And like me and Wayne said earlier in the show, only one team has beat this Kansas City team in an entire calendar year, and that's the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. And they just did it a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, when they were able to beat Kansas City. That's the only team that's been able to beat this team in a year, which is just ridiculous and insane to say. Going into this game, they're going into Arrowhead. Both of the two top quarterbacks, if you want to leave out Lamar, these are two top quarterbacks in the league. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, dueling it out. Wayne, I'll go back to you. I mean, how do you pick this game?
I'm picking Kansas City.
Yeah.
Buffalo beat Kansas City at home, where they hadn't lost a game all year. And now they're at Arrowhead. You got Patrick Mahomes, who has a lot more weapons, I think, offensively than Josh Allen has on offense. They've been able to run the ball and control the ball on offense, but then I think you play against a team and a defense like Kansas City with Spags, and he's the best game plan in the league as far as defense is concerned. Yeah. And so I think Kansas City does score some points, and I think they got this veteran team. They got a mission. They from day one they said they wanted a three-peat, and the mission not complete until you beat Buffalo. So they find ways to win. They're solid in all three phases of the game. And I just think Kansas City have squeaked this one out. I think it'll be a very close game. But I think Kansas City will come out. I think they had the best head coach in the league, the best quarterback. And, he's not worried about not making All-Pro. He's not worried about this and that. He's just worried about winning. And that's what it comes down to when you won 2 Super Bowl rings and you want to win another. So I think this guy's on a mission to win. I think Kansas City is going to win this game.
Yep, Kansas City, a 2-point favorite, very narrow favorite in this one. PJ, who you got in this one, Buffalo and Kansas City?
I would like for Buffalo to win, but I think whenever you play in Kansas City, and definitely when you're playing in Kansas City, you're not just playing against them, you're also playing against the referees. At this point, the referees ought to have red stripes on them because it just seems like anytime you touch number 15, it's going to be a flag. Or even if you get close to beating these guys, they're going to somehow find a way to throw a flag on your team that's going to kind of cost you to lose the game.
Come on, PJ. Come on, man.
You don't want to give them that.
Like, it's crazy at this point, man. Like, I don't understand. We've been seeing it all season. They're a really good team. That's what makes me mad because they're a really good team. I don't think they need the refs.
No, they don't need any extra help.
We've already seen them beat teams without refs, helping them. So I don't think that they really need the help of the refs. But, yeah, I got them winning the game. Hopefully Josh Allen come out and really play good in his running game for the Bills, really show up the way it has majority of the season. And if that defense played the way they played, against Lamar Jackson, then they'll really be able to make this game very close.
Yeah.
Possibly come out with a win, but I still think that the edge is going to go to Kansas City. It has to go to Kansas City because they're the 2-time champs, and so you can't really go against that.
Yeah, I'm picking Kansas City in this game. I'm the person that came out and said Kansas City's not going to three-peat at the beginning of the year. I ain't moved. I ain't lost yet. I haven't been wrong yet because we haven't got to the Super Bowl. But boy, they making it tough right now.
Yeah, and I've been the one that said it's going to be Philadelphia and Kansas City in the Super Bowl. So that's who I'm picking this weekend. I got to go with my picks that I picked from the beginning, and we'll see what happens. But it's going to be some great football this weekend, man.
Great football,
no doubt about it. And you're going to get some good football.
Mahomes and Josh Allen, it's fireworks every time these two guys get on the field. Josh Allen has played phenomenal all year, but going in the Arrowhead, man, these guys are the 2-time back-to-back champs. He's got 3 of them, but they just won back-to-back. And you still got to come out here and you got to get through these guys. I don't know if Josh Allen will get over the hump this week. I'm picking Kansas City. They're at home. Like Wayne said, these guys are on a mission from day one. They said, we're trying to win. They're trying to three-peat. They're trying to make history, something that's never been done in the Super Bowl era in the entire NFL. And that's three-peat as a team. Like I said, I picked Philly to come out of the NFC, and I picked Kansas City to come out. So I think it's going to be a rematch of the 22 Super Bowl that we've seen this time. The three-peat, matter of fact, started against Philly in the Super Bowl. I think if they're going to get a chance to close it out, it's going to be against Philly in the Super Bowl once again. But they got to get past Buffalo first. Buffalo isn't any type of pushover, any type of look past them because they got number 17 over there that can make plays just like 15 can for Kansas City. But I think just too much Kansas City. Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Patrick Mahomes. I think that's the only 3 names you need to come out here and get a victory. Regardless who else comes out there and plays, then Travis Kelce figures out how to play again all of a sudden in the playoffs every single year. He just went for $117 on my team. I'm expecting the same thing in this one. We're gonna see Taylor Swift at least 9 times throughout this game every time Travis Kelce gets a catch. So probably some type of ad dollars or something going in with that too. So we'll see. PJ thinks the refs are gonna be involved in this one. I'm hoping we're not gonna see no interference from the referees. Just straight up football. Right now, game time weather says 34 degrees. So it'll be warm. That'll seem like springtime for the guys playing in Buffalo because it's probably about 1 degree out there. Folks, we're out of time here today on the show. I want to thank everybody for watching with us. Lots of great games coming on this weekend. The national championship game has just kicked off. They're a couple minutes into the game already. Notre Dame's marching down the field looking like they're in position to try to score. So we're going to go home and try to watch this game. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll be back here tomorrow to discuss the national championship game and talk about these conference championship games some more. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube, Centex Sports TV, over on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and also click the bell so you can get notified. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great evening and stay warm. Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Central Texas home for sports. It's Centex Sports Network and Infinity Sports. Catch all your in-depth sports analysis with the best. The hottest sports show in the evening is Centex Primetime, hosted by Jalen Gillis.
Act like y'all.
Weekdays 5 to 7. This is the Central Texas #1 leader in sports. Centex Sports Network.
That's right, sports